New tonight, nearly 2 hours late, blamed on plane and weather issues, former President Donald Trump finally took the stage at Opryland for a speech to a Christian media conference being held here in Music City.
New photos have surfaced revealing that hundreds of empty chairs were cleared out prior to a Donald Trump event at the National Religious Broadcasters International Christian Media Convention in Nashville, Tennessee. The Republican presidential frontrunner, renowned for his charismatic speeches, was slated to address the convention. However, even with his delayed arrival, the event center remained far from capacity, prompting speculation as to whether the numerous legal setbacks he has faced recently are beginning to impact his campaign. In this video, I will show you embarrassing videos of Trump's latest event looking empty. Donald Trump removes empty seats. The Republican presidential frontrunner, known for his charismatic speeches, was scheduled to speak at the convention, but despite his delayed arrival, the room was far from full. Vivian Jones, a reporter for The Tennessean, captured the startling transformation of the venue through photos shared on social media. The images reveal rows of empty seats in one moment, only to be replaced by a majority of occupied chairs shortly after. The removal of the empty chairs has sparked controversy and speculation, with conflicting statements from NRB spokesperson Noel Huizenga. As the NRB convention kicked off, excitement filled the air. However, the anticipation quickly turned into confusion when Donald Trump failed to make his scheduled appearance. Vivian Jones, a reporter for The Tennessean, took to social media to document the unfolding events. In a series of tweets, Jones revealed the shocking truth. She wrote, "After nearly an hour of singing by the Signature Sound Quartet, the crowd here is milling about smartly, awaiting Trump's arrival. No one is on stage. There's Christian music on the loudspeaker." But it was her next tweet that truly captured everyone's attention. Jones shared two photos, taken just moments apart, showcasing a dramatic change in the number of chairs in the room. The first photo showed rows upon rows of empty seats, a stark contrast to the bustling atmosphere one would expect at such a high-profile event. However, the second photo painted a completely different picture. The majority of the seats were now occupied, leaving only a few scattered empty chairs. The photos went viral, leaving people puzzled and demanding answers. How did so many chairs suddenly disappear? And why was Trump's arrival delayed for such an extended period? As the photos of the empty chairs circulated online, the National Religious Broadcasters, NRB, found themselves at the center of a growing storm. Noel Huizenga, the spokesperson for the NRB, was quick to respond to the allegations, but her statements only added fuel to the fire. In an attempt to downplay the controversy, Huizenga stated, "This was not an NRB operational matter. NRB was not tracking any movement of chairs, and I can't confirm whether the information in that tweet is correct." Her denial left many scratching their heads, wondering who was responsible for the removal of the chairs. Meanwhile, inside the convention hall, the atmosphere was filled with a mix of anticipation and confusion. After nearly an hour of singing by the Signature Sound Quartet, the crowd found themselves waiting for Trump's arrival. The room was devoid of any activity on stage, with only Christian music playing through the loudspeakers. As time ticked by, the audience grew restless. People began milling about, exchanging whispers and glances, eagerly awaiting the appearance of the Republican frontrunner. The delay in Trump's arrival only added to the intrigue and speculation surrounding the event. The tension in the room was palpable. Attendees who had come from far and wide to hear Trump speak were left wondering what was causing the delay. Little did they know that the unfolding events would soon take a surprising turn. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Donald Trump made his grand entrance onto the stage. 2 hours and 40 minutes had passed since the NRB presidential forum began, and the crowd erupted in applause and cheers as the former president took his place at the podium. Trump began by addressing the crowd of Christian broadcasters, expressing his disbelief that any Christian would vote for a Democrat. His words sent shockwaves through the room as he questioned the alignment of Christian values with the Democratic Party's policies. He called on Christians to rally behind him, portraying the upcoming 2024 election as a battle for the soul of the nation. With conviction in his voice, he declared,
"And I really believe it's the biggest thing missing from this country. It's the biggest thing missing. We have to bring back our religion. We have to bring back Christianity in this country."
Trump began by addressing the crowd of Christian broadcasters, expressing his disbelief that any Christian would vote for a Democrat. But Trump didn't stop there. He continued to rail against President Biden, criticizing his policies and decisions since taking office. Trump's message resonated with the enthusiastic crowd, who saw him as a champion for their beliefs. Despite his personal controversies, including multiple marriages and an upcoming trial over alleged hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels, Trump proudly proclaimed, "I I am a very proud Christian, actually. At the end of the convention, one major talking point was the unusually low attendance during the event. Just a few days ago, the CPAC event took place and the attendance during the event was not a good sign for Trump. Empty seats at CPAC event. Despite a star-studded lineup of influential speakers, including former President Donald Trump, Representatives Elise Stefanski and Jim Jordan, Senator J.D. Vance, and more, images and videos have emerged showing a significant number of empty seats during some of the speeches. This unexpected turn of events has raised questions about the turnout and enthusiasm at CPAC, which has been an annual staple of the conservative movement since 1974. As CPAC kicked off this year, attendees and observers couldn't help but notice that something seemed off. The room appeared smaller, and there were noticeably fewer people in attendance compared to previous years. The excitement and energy that usually filled the air seemed to be lacking. Images and videos shared on social media platforms like X quickly went viral, capturing the attention of conservatives and political enthusiasts alike. One particular image, shared by The Guardian's Washington bureau chief David Smith, showed former British Prime Minister Liz Truss walking on stage to polite applause and dozens of empty seats. It was a stark contrast to the packed and enthusiastic crowds that CPAC had become known for. National Journal reporter Zach Weiss also noted the thinner crowd and fewer seats at this year's CPAC compared to the previous year. In an era where CPAC has been a symbol of conservative unity and strength, the sight of empty seats was a surprising and concerning development. The main conference room had even been cut off, resulting in a reduced seating capacity. Despite these adjustments, the room was still far from full. The account Republicans for Trump took a sarcastic tone, referring to a packed house as a camera panned across the room, revealing the reality of the situation. The empty seats were hard to ignore, and the sarcastic comment, "Yikes," perfectly captured the sentiment of many who were witnessing the event unfold. As the images and videos of the empty seats at CPAC circulated online, organizers and attendees were quick to respond and offer their perspectives on the situation. American Conservative Union Chairman Matt Schlapp, in an interview with Steve Bannon on Bannon's War Room podcast, addressed the issue head-on. Schlapp acknowledged the presence of empty seats, but attributed it to a deliberate decision to exclude what he referred to as left-wing journalists from the event. He claimed that these journalists had a biased agenda against Republicans and conservatives, and CPAC wanted to ensure that their voices were not given a platform. Schlapp emphasized that CPAC was open to anyone, including propagandists, as long as they were not credentialed as members of the media. The response from CPAC organizers seemed to suggest that the empty seats were a result of a deliberate choice, rather than a lack of interest or enthusiasm from attendees. However, this explanation did little to quell the curiosity surrounding the situation. Attendees, on the other hand, had mixed reactions to the empty seats. Some expressed disappointment and concern, as CPAC had always been a place for conservatives to come together and unite. The sparse turnout seemed to undermine the sense of unity and strength that CPAC had symbolized in the past. Lara Trump, who took the stage as a speaker at CPAC, addressed the crowd with enthusiasm and received cheers when she spoke about her father-in-law's victory in the presidential election and her own run to become the head of the Republican National Committee. However, even her presence and passionate speech couldn't fill every seat in the room. Cameras panned across the audience, revealing the empty seats that stood as a visual reminder of the challenges CPAC was facing. The empty seats at CPAC also prompted some attendees to question the future of the event. Prominent conservatives who had opted not to attend CPAC this year instead joined a counter-programming summit called Principles First. This alternative summit featured several of Trump's critics, including former Representative Adam Kinzinger, former Governor Asa Hutchinson, and former Trump White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson. The decision of these conservatives to seek a different platform for their voices raised questions about the direction and relevance of CPAC. Heath Mayo, founder of Principles First, expressed his disappointment with the current state of CPAC. He reminisced about the past when CPAC was a place for libertarians, social conservatives, and economic conservatives to come together and engage in meaningful debates. Mayo described the current state of CPAC as a circus, highlighting the need for a more substantive and inclusive platform for conservatives. Danielle Butcher-France, a conservative focused on climate change, shared her own observations on social media. She expressed surprise at the lack of attendance, stating that she didn't know a single person attending CPAC this year. France's comments underscored the shift in perception surrounding CPAC, once considered the go-to event for young conservatives to network and launch their careers. The empty seats at CPAC have raised important questions about the implications for the event itself and the broader conservative movement. The significance of this year's turnout, or lack thereof, cannot be ignored. First and foremost, the empty seats at CPAC indicate a potential shift in enthusiasm and engagement within the conservative movement. CPAC has long been been seen as a rallying point for conservatives, a place where ideas are shared, alliances are formed, and the future of the movement is shaped. However, the sparse attendance suggests that some conservatives may be seeking alternative platforms to voice their opinions and engage in meaningful discussions. The decision of prominent conservatives to participate in the Principles First Summit instead of attending CPAC is a clear indication of this shift. The summit, featuring Trump's critics, highlights the growing divide within the conservative movement and the need for a more inclusive and substantive dialogue. It also raises questions about the future direction of CPAC and whether it can adapt to the changing dynamics of the conservative landscape. Furthermore, the empty seats at CPAC may have broader implications for the Republican Party and its ability to mobilize its base. CPAC has traditionally been a showcase for potential presidential candidates and a platform for party leaders to rally their supporters. The sight of empty seats during speeches by influential figures, including former President Donald Trump, raises concerns about the level of enthusiasm and support within the Republican Party. The Republican National Committee, which plays a crucial role in shaping the party's agenda and strategy, may also need to reassess its approach in light of the empty seats at CPAC. The event serves as an opportunity for the RNC to connect with grassroots activists and energize the base. However, the lackluster turnout suggests that new strategies may be needed to engage and mobilize conservative voters effectively. The empty seats at CPAC also have implications for the conservative movement's ability to attract and retain young conservatives. CPAC has traditionally been a gathering place for young conservatives to network, learn, and launch their careers. However, the declining attendance raises questions about whether CPAC is still seen as a relevant and influential event for the younger generation. The conservative movement as a whole may need to reflect on the changing dynamics and priorities of its base. Issues such as climate change, social justice, and diversity are increasingly important to young conservatives, and the movement must find ways to address these concerns and engage with a broader range of voices. One of the most common criticisms of CPAC is that it has become a Trump convention, highlighting some of the most bizarre talking points. The weirdest things said at CPAC so far. At CPAC 2024, one of the most bizarre moments came when Florida Representative Byron Donalds took the stage and went on a Trump-esque rant about wind power. As the crowd eagerly listened, Donalds made a series of sensational claims that left many scratching their heads. Donalds began by criticizing the Green New Deal, a progressive policy proposal aimed at addressing climate change and transitioning to renewable energy sources. He argued that the Green New Deal, which he referred to as this Green New Deal stuff, was not as environmentally friendly as it seemed.
It's not even that green. When you go and read the studies, these solar panels are dirtier than natural gas. These wind turbines, there have been more men and women who have died from wind turbines than nuclear power. That is a fact.
The audience gasped at this shocking statement. Donald seemed to be suggesting that wind turbines were not only harmful to the environment, but also posed a significant danger to human life. But were his claims based on factual evidence? As we delve deeper into Donald's wind power rant, it becomes clear that his statements lack a solid foundation. While it is true that there have been accidents and fatalities related to wind turbines, it is essential to put these incidents into perspective. According to the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, the number of deaths caused by wind turbines is incredibly low compared to other energy sources such as coal or nuclear power. Furthermore, Donald's assertion that solar panels are dirtier than natural gas is misleading. While the production and disposal of solar panels do have environmental impacts, they are significantly cleaner than fossil fuels in terms of greenhouse gas emissions and air pollution. It is important to note that Donald's claims about wind turbines and solar panels are not supported by scientific consensus. Numerous studies have shown that wind and solar energy are crucial components of a sustainable and clean energy future. The International Energy Agency, for example, has emphasized the importance of renewable energy in combating climate change and reducing carbon emissions. As we analyze Donald's wind power rant, it becomes evident that his statements are not grounded in factual evidence. They appear to be part of a larger narrative that seeks to discredit renewable energy sources and promote a pro-fossil fuel agenda. By sensationalizing the potential dangers of wind turbines and downplaying the environmental benefits of solar panels, Donalds perpetuates a distorted view of the energy landscape. In another bizarre moment at CPAC 2024, Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville expressed his deep concerns about American fatherhood and the role of the government. Tuberville's speech touched on various topics, including the influence of communism, the role of teachers' unions, and the alleged attack on Christian and moral values. During an interview with podcast host Ben Ferguson, Tuberville painted a grim picture of American society, claiming that there is a war to control children, and that the government sees them as property of the United States. He went on to accuse communists, socialists, and Marxists of wanting to indoctrinate children and undermine traditional family values. Tuberville's concerns about American fatherhood were intertwined with his criticism of Hillary Clinton, whom he portrayed as a symbol of the left's desire to control children. He referenced Clinton's famous quote, "It takes a village," suggesting that she wanted to replace the role of parents with government influence. The senator also took aim at teachers' unions, claiming that they have been dragging the country down with their woke socialism agenda. He argued that unions, particularly those representing teachers, are responsible for pushing an ideology that goes against the wishes of parents. Tuberville's remarks echoed a common conservative narrative that portrays teachers' unions as a threat to traditional values and parental authority. While Tuberville's concerns about American fatherhood and the role of the government may resonate with some, it is essential to critically examine the validity of his claims. The idea that the government wants to control children and replace parental authority is a fear-based narrative that lacks substantial evidence. It is crucial to recognize that education and child-rearing are complex issues that involve a partnership between parents, educators, and the government, rather than a zero-sum game. Furthermore, Tuberville's assertion that teachers' unions are solely responsible for pushing a woke socialism agenda is an oversimplification of a complex issue. Teachers' unions advocate for fair working conditions, adequate resources for schools, and policies that prioritize the well-being of students. While there may be instances where individual teachers or union leaders express political opinions, it is important to distinguish between personal beliefs and the overall mission of teachers' unions. Tuberville's concerns about the erosion of Christian and moral values and the alleged attack on churches also warrant closer examination. While it is true that societal values evolve over time, the idea that there is a deliberate effort to vilify Christianity or undermine religious institutions lacks substantial evidence. It is crucial to foster open dialogue and respect for diverse beliefs while upholding the principles of religious freedom. One of the most controversial moments at CPAC 2024 came when Senator Tommy Tuberville made claims about the alleged theft of the 2020 election and the urgent need to get Donald Trump back in the White House. Tuberville's statements tapped into the widespread belief among some conservatives that the election was stolen from Trump, despite the lack of substantial evidence to support such claims. Tuberville asserted that there was a concerted effort to run Trump out of office and prevent his re-election. He claimed that the ballot box was stuffed in the 2020 election without providing any concrete evidence to support this allegation. It is important to note that multiple courts, including the Supreme Court, dismissed numerous legal challenges to the election results due to lack of evidence. The senator's call to get Trump back in the White House was met with enthusiastic applause from the CPAC audience. He emphasized the immense power that the President of the United States holds and argued that without Trump in the White House, it would be tough for any of us to survive in the greatest country ever. However, it is crucial to approach Tuberville's claims with a critical lens. The notion that the 2020 election was stolen from Trump has been thoroughly debunked by numerous election officials, independent audits, and the Department of Justice. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which oversees election security, described the 2020 election as the most secure in American history. It is also important to recognize that the peaceful transition of power is a cornerstone of democracy. While it is natural for individuals to support their preferred candidate and express disappointment in election outcomes, baseless claims of election theft undermine the integrity of the democratic process. As we analyze Tuberville's claims, it becomes evident that they are part of a larger narrative that seeks to delegitimize the 2020 election and perpetuate a false narrative of widespread fraud. Such claims can have serious consequences for public trust in the electoral system and the stability of democracy. At the CPAC in 2024, the speakers didn't hold back when it came to their opinions about the Democratic Party. One of the most shocking statements came from Monica Crowley, former United States Assistant Secretary of the Treasury for Public Affairs in the Trump administration. During a panel discussion, Crowley dropped a bombshell by claiming that the Democrats are communists and that communists always have a plan. She recounted a moment from 2 years prior when she was the first person to raise the possibility that the Democrats might reach for Michelle Obama as a potential candidate. The room fell silent and a collective gasp could be heard. Crowley boldly stated, "Guys, don't shoot the messenger. It does us no good to live in wishful thinking fantasy land that the Democrats don't have a plan." These sensational claims left the audience stunned and sparked a wave of speculation about the alleged communist plans of the Democratic Party. While Crowley didn't provide any concrete evidence to support her assertions, her words ignited a firestorm of controversy and debate. The CPAC CPAC in 2024 was not just a platform for discussing the alleged communist plans of the Democrats, it also became a breeding ground for wild speculation about potential candidates and the future of the Democratic Party. One of the most intriguing theories came from Matt Boyle, a prominent figure from Breitbart. Boyle framed a potential battle for the nomination between Michelle Obama and Vice President Kamala Harris as a catfight. He suggested that the Democrats could position Michelle as a reluctant candidate, someone who didn't initially want to run, but was reluctantly recruited to save her party and her country. Boyle went on to speculate that if the Democrats waited until the last moment, Michelle could enter the race as a pristine candidate, avoiding any bruising primary battles. According to him, she would only need to run for 10 weeks leading up to November 5th. While this theory may sound off the wall, Boyle reminded the audience that the past 8 years have been filled with unexpected twists and turns, making anything possible. Columnist Kurt Schlichter had a bone to pick with Boyle's characterization of a potential Kamala versus Michelle showdown. He injected a touch of humor into the intense speculation by jokingly asking, "Why are you ruining catfights for us?" Schlichter's comment added a lighthearted element to the otherwise intense discussions surrounding the Democratic nomination. The CPAC in 2024 became a hotbed of speculation and conjecture, with attendees and speakers alike pondering the future of the Democratic Party. The potential clash between Michelle Obama and Kamala Harris, along with the underlying power dynamics within the party, fueled the imagination of many. The CPAC in 2024 took a dramatic turn when speakers began questioning the true power dynamics within the Biden administration. Monica Crowley, once again making waves with her statements, boldly claimed that what we are currently experiencing is not the Biden administration, but rather Obama 3.0. According to Crowley, Joe Biden was installed as a puppet by the left because they knew he was a senile figure who could be easily controlled. She alleged that the Obamas, the powerhouse couple of the Democratic Party, are the ones pulling the strings behind the scenes. Crowley went even further, suggesting that a host of power brokers within the left, working in conjunction with the so-called deep state, are orchestrating a grand plan. While Crowley didn't provide any concrete evidence to support her claims, her words sent shockwaves through the CPAC audience. The idea that the Obamas, who had already served 2 terms in the White House, were still running the show from behind the scenes left many in disbelief. These allegations of puppeteering and hidden power structures within the Democratic Party added a new layer of intrigue to the already sensational atmosphere at the CPAC in 2024. Attendees and viewers were left questioning who truly held the reins of power in the United States. But the shocking statements didn't end there. Lara Trump, in her passionate speech, criticized progressive ideas on gender.
Whether it's our kids being forced to attend schools that continue to fail them, our kids indoctrinated with critical race theory, or the fabricated notion that you can change your gender like you change your shoes, we must remember it is up to us to protect them.
She emphasized the importance of parents taking charge of their children's safety and education, expressing concern over kids being forced to attend failing schools and being indoctrinated with critical race theory. She also took aim at the notion that one can change their gender as easily as changing shoes, urging parents to protect their children from what she perceived as misguided policies. That brings us to the end of this video. For more videos like this, click on the cards on your screen.